Boy Kills World is an action comedy revenge movie that stars Bill Skarsgård as the titular boy who kills the titular world. Let's start with the non-spoiler section for those of you who are considering a watch. Now, if you're anything like me, you probably heard about this movie and thought, oh wow, a movie about a guy seeking revenge after his family gets killed? This is just like Monkey Man. And it is similar in some aspects. But before we compare, let's assess the movie on its own merits. In terms of cast, Bill Skarsgård is pretty engaging in this movie. He manages to bring something to a role that is very bare bones just through expressions and physicality. In the same vein, it's always a treat to see Sharlto Copley ham it up and Yeon Ruhan kick butt. As for the rest of the cast, they're there. They're not doing anything spectacular, they're not doing anything egregious. They show up. In terms of the film itself, Boy Kills World has some very gory action scenes that are somewhat difficult to follow. Bill fights multiple people, but while he's doing his thing, the camera also flies around, shaking and grooving, busting a move, you know. It feels like the director added too much flair to some of those scenes, to the point where battles lost a lot of their impact. And speaking of, let's discuss the tone. The comedy in this movie is a choice. Having Mr. Bob's Burgers himself do narration throughout the entire film might be appealing to some, but to me it was very jarring. The movie juxtaposes serious scenes of characters we're supposed to care about, with Mr. Burger cracking jokes along the level of, well, that just happened. It comes across not as funny, but disingenuous, like this movie is afraid of being sincere. That being said, what would I say if someone asked if they should watch Boy Kills World, flaws and all? I'd say,
reject boy, return to monkey.
This movie's fatal flaw is that it doesn't commit to anything. It wants to be funny and serious, but does a poor job of balancing the two. It wants to impress you with action and camera work, but it doesn't know how to align them in a way that holds attention. It has a character who's deaf, but only sometimes, which I'll get into in spoilers. And in the end, that results in something that's better in pieces than it is as a sum of parts. As such, I do have a few changes that I think would improve this movie. I'll give you non-spoiler folks a moment to hop off before going in, as said changes will of course include spoilers. Still here? Cool beans. Alright, change number 1. Either make this a serious movie and have Bill Skarsgård do the voiceover, or make this a comedy and keep H. John Benjamin. This wishy-washy middle-of-the-road stuff did not work, at least for me. Monkey Man is a serious film with comedic elements, and it functions because it chooses a path. Deadpool is a comedic film with serious elements, and it also functions in the same manner. There are ways to do this, you just need a better distribution of comedy and gravity. Change number 2. If our main character is deaf, use that throughout the film. Have him not hear enemies approach. Have him struggle to listen to multiple people at once. Have him use loud music at one point to deafen his enemies, or a gunshot to overload their senses. This should be an integral part of his character, but the movie makes it go in and out. Sometimes he hears everyone perfectly, even when they're not facing him. Sometimes he can't read one guy and one guy only's lips. Change number 3. Control your camera. This isn't a roller coaster, it's a movie. Change number 4. If the bad guys are gonna have guns, don't give them stormtrooper aim. At least make it believable that they'd have a hard time hitting our protagonist. The laziness this movie has when it comes to justifying our hero not getting shot is laughable. At one point he's out in the open while under fire from a chain gun, and somehow he survives. Change number 5. The twist of this movie is that Bill thinks his sister and mom were killed, but really they're both alive and both bad guys. Women. He forgives his sister pretty quickly, which I'm not getting into, but assuming this twist is set in stone, I'll set up 2 paths. Number 1, if this is a comedy, have his mom demand to know where the shaman is. But in a second twist, which would have to be set up earlier, reveal that the shaman died of old age a while back. Bill's just been hallucinating him ever since. We still need a final fight, so it can be Bill versus his sister, with them eventually coming to a truce and teaming up to kill their mom. If this isn't a comedy though, you can go the same route the movie did, as the emotional payoff here won't ring as hollow as it originally did. And change number 6. There is no change number 6. I'm done. The review's over. I didn't like this movie, and talking about it somehow made it worse. Get out of here, you rascal.